Well, look at this. It is Sinn Bodhi, professional wrestler, WWE superstar, and now with Power Slap Wrestling. This is great to have you on the show. How you doing, buddy?
I'm good, man. How are you? Thanks for having me.
Dude, I'm so excited. I feel like I've known you now for like 10 years, but we've never had a chance to sit down and talk long form. So I'm looking forward to our conversation. I have so many questions about you and your background and your history, but we have to start with Power Slap. This is the Dana White deal. How did you get involved with Power Slap?
So I guess they were looking for crazy characters that had the I'm trying to think, how can I say this without cussing online, but with the testicular fortitude, whether it was a woman metaphorically or a man physiologically, that would step up to the plate and take a shot, and that takes a certain amount of you know courage and craziness. It's awesome because it's just a pure form of sport. Like, I mean, everybody's got a chin and everybody's got a swing. So whether you're this diehard athlete or you're from pro wrestling or you're from the gridiron or the octagon or just from the just the hardworking blue collar person, everybody's, again, they got a chin, they got a swing, so everybody's got a chance. MMA guys, can learn how to put you in a triangle or do all these different things to you, and wrestlers can pile drive you, hit you with steel chairs, and anybody can throw a knuckle sandwich. But this is just standing right up there and putting your chin out there and seeing what happens. So it's oddly pure. Like, it's that's the best way I can sort of define it in my. And then you know me for a long time, so again, like, so my hamster in this wheel spinning between these ears. It's like, all right, this is as pure as it's gonna get. And
Wait,
so,
are you one of the competitors? Are you
no,
booking guys and gals to do this?
yeah, no, I'm a competitor booker, like a talent booker. So I'm bringing, who I would think would be good competition to the table. But how I got into this job was, I guess they were looking for somebody that would sort of be, in the trenches with all these different people that, guys and girls that, were potential competitors. So pro wrestlers are jumping off of ladders and tables and getting hit with light tubes and thumbtacks and stuff, like, weekly. Like, this is just what we do. And jumping off the top ropes, jumping not just into the ring off the top ropes, jumping out of the ring over the rope. So you've got to be a certain special kind of crazy to do that in the first place. Like, we would always joke, like, if you step in foot in the squared circle, you got some sort of screw loose. So I have one tattooed, right? I have a little screw loose tattoo. I don't know if you.
Oh, do you
Yeah,
really?
as the Iron Sheik would say, coming about zoom in. You can see my
You can see it.
screw loose tattoo. But so they figured, all right, well, I fly out every week somewhere. I'm in some city, town, country, state, province, wrestling and performing in front of people and doing seminars. So I think I'm sort of the Bull Durham, the Kevin Costner of pro wrestling at this stage of the game. I fly into a town and I wrestle the local good guy, local bad guy, tighten this up, do less of this, more of this, kid, whatever, keep on going. And then I fly to the next show. So I guess they figured I would be the perfect kind of crazy guy that's in the trenches, seeing the potential talent and being able to recruit them for Power Slap.
Well, have you competed in Power Slap? Have you done? Are you
So I before pro wrestling, I competed in full contact martial arts. I was a bodyguard. I was a bouncer. I was a legitimate circus strongman, besides being a pro wrestler. So I've known physicality my whole life, but I've never performed in Power Slap. The age bracket, I'm disqualified just for age alone. But
are you really? Really?
yeah. Yeah, so they want between 21 and 40. They will extend it to 43 if there's some extraordinary circumstance.
Yeah.
But I am 51, so I guess I'm got one foot in the glue factory.
No, this is why you and we start the senior league, the Power Slap Senior League. I think there's plenty of people 50 and over that would love to get involved with this. So we'll talk to Dana and we'll start the senior league.
Well, dude, so I know so many guys that are in my age bracket. They were the guys that were more willing to do it. More than younger guys were a lot more hesitant or just said no. They're like, oh no, I play a tough guy on TV. There's no way I'm stepping up to that. But the guys that I talked to that were before they had sort of defined the age bracket A lot of the guys were about 45 to 50, because a lot of the guys I came up with are close to my age, and a lot of those guys were like, hell yeah, I'll do it, you know.
Yeah.
So
Well, how does it work? Is it simple? Is it based on age? Is it based on height and weight? Is it certain
it's weight
classes?
weight
Weight
brackets,
bracket.
yeah, and there's rules, so it's not like you're just teeing off on somebody, like you got to have your feet flat and your shoulders straight and your arms straight, and then you've got to like you can't cup your hand or palm your hand. You have to uh, hit flat, and you sort of have to give the person a heads up. Like there's a pocket, and they show you exactly what they want you to do. Like they're very adamant about the rules, for safety's sake and professionalism's sake. So like that pocket right, along the jawline, underneath the jawbone, right in there, so you don't get an
Uh
ear,
huh.
you're not getting the orbital socket or the nose or the mouth.
This is where you're supposed to hit the person right here.
Yeah, and then you get sort of you kind of give them a 1, 2, or 3 heads up. Like I'm going to hit you on the left side or right side. I'm going to hit you on two. So when you wind up one, boom, two. So that way you kind of have a semblance of knowing when it's coming as opposed to being cold cocked. So
Ambush slap
right,
competition. I didn't see that coming.
yeah, 100%, 100%.
Within, so if you and I were competing against each other, would you who goes first? You hit me first. I
Coin,
think whoever
you,
hits first has the upper
you
hand.
flip a coin, and Mark the referee, he is diligent on the rules and diligent on the coin toss, and he is watching everything like a hawk. Uh, yeah, I mean the judges and everything, they take their job very seriously. They don't want any shenanigans. They don't want you messing around, and you wear a mouth guard in your piece, so
Okay.
yeah, there's not been a single tooth out, not been a single eardrum popped, orbital socket crushed. I want to say, I don't know the exact stats, but I want to say that there's been like one level 1 concussion, I believe. And I think that was from the guy hitting his head on the way down. It wasn't from like, so what people need to realize is like, when you see that footage and it looks scary, and of course it is scary, but I mean, that's
Yeah.
what's selling the tickets. You don't go to a horror movie to not be scared, or you don't go to a romance comedy to not, shed a tear. You're going for specific emotional responses. So what it is it's, of course, it's pretty brutal, and of course there's a semblance of danger, like in anything. You leave your house, you get hit by a bus, the cancer could get you, the COVID could
Hmm.
get you, a meteor could fall down and drop on your head. Something's going to get you when you leave your house. So this isn't playing Nerf football. This is big boy, big girl time. But what people need to understand is concussions don't happen, you know, from a slap. It happens from trauma to the skull. If you get hit in
Hmm.
the head, which you are not getting hit in the head, that's what causes your brain to slosh against your skull, swelling your brain, hence a concussion. You could do that. I've done that back in the day where I was in a car wreck. Somebody rear-ended me. I didn't see them coming, and maybe if you could have braced and saw it, I've got a solid neck and a wrestler's neck and everything. I didn't see it, so I wasn't bracing or
Hmm.
anything, and I was out, and I didn't think I had a concussion because I didn't have a bump on my head. I didn't remember hitting my head, but I had in my seatbelt, I sloshed my head forward, and my brain slammed up against my skull, and it gave me a pretty gnarly concussion. So I was acting really weird, and my girlfriend at the time was just like, "You're being an a hole," and I'm like, "What are you
Hmm.
talking about?" Like people could just say, "Hey, how are you?" And I'm like, "Oh, what are you, man?" Like. I'm a super chill dude, but I was super aggressive. And when I went to the doctor, they said, that's the concussion talking. That's like you're
Yeah.
acting erratic. So he literally, and my girlfriend was like, he's being such a jerk to everybody. Is there something he literally wrote me a doctor's note. Please forgive him. He's concussed. Make fun of him when he's thinking straight, kind of a thing.
Yeah. Exactly.
But that is,
I like to get that note too when you're in a bad mood. Just listen. I'm concussed. That's
I'm
why. Just give
concussed.
me a break. I'm
Hey,
concussed. I'm concussed.
that's it.
24/7.
That's it. So and in pro wrestling, and in any sport or in anything, right? If you're a forklift driver, there's a semblance of danger. If you're a construction worker, there's a semblance of danger. If you're a pro wrestler, you're competing in the octagon, there's a semblance of danger. So with power slap, there certainly is a semblance of danger, but the rules are there to keep you as safe as possible. The payday is out of this world. You know, you're going to make more in one night than a lot of people will make in a month. and so forth.
That's great.
Yeah, it's
But how does it work though? If you and I are competing, going against each other, and you win the coin toss, you elect to slap first, and you slap me, you're gonna knock me out. I got knocked out, then it's done, or do I have a chance to recoup,
if
regain my consciousness, and slap you back?
if you get knocked out, then I'm pretty sure I win. But otherwise, if you don't get knocked out, we have 3 rounds between us. So we
It is okay.
now I think you can for extending circumstances, they can extend the rounds. But for the most part, it's a 3 round bout. And yeah, you flip the coin toss, and off you go. You see who's got the meaner chin and the meaner swing.
Well, what are we looking at? So then, if you slap me and you don't knock me out, and then I slap you and I don't knock you out, and you slap, we're slapping each other. What are you judging on the impact, the power? Like, what are you judging the slap on if you're not knocking your opponent out? Or is it you have to knock the person out?
You don't have to knock them out, but they'll judge on some points, and they'll judge. There's various factors, so that way you're not clobbering each other into oblivion or whatever. But I mean,
Yeah.
some of the rounds have gone longer for extenuating circumstances. But
Yeah.
not every match is going to be a knockout. Sometimes it can stalemate. There can be all sorts of different things that are happening. And it just makes for, again, I can only use the word pure entertainment because it's pure competition. So it's just mono-y mono or womano-y womano, you know, that's how it goes. I think I'd rather not get slapped by some of the girls. We'd always joke in the wrestling that the girls are meaner than the guys. Like guys with big, burly, scary teddy bears. But the girls, they're just a whole different level of you know.
I'm
Like
I'm
my
excited
wife is
about it.
like 5 foot if she's lucky. She scares the crap out of me.
Right?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. Everybody that knows
You get a
me and my wife's like she's the scary one. And I'm the guy that lays on beds of nails and can drink boiling water and thumbtacks and have darts thrown at me, and she's the scary one.
Well, so much to talk to you about, so much to dig into. I do want to get your thoughts though, real quick, about how with WrestleMania coming back to Las Vegas, do you know how that whole thing went down? Because we were all told it's going to be in New Orleans, and everyone's super excited it's coming back here to town. But do you know why that switch happened, and how we're able to say, "Hey, we're committed to one city"? Nah, we changed our mind. We're going back to Las Vegas. Do you know anything about what happened?
I think it would really just boil down to building logistics and finance. So the guy, all the money people on both sides of that were trying to dot their I's and cross their T's, and I think building specs and so forth. So it was a lot of just as I would like to say, as a guy that sort of jumps around in silly costumes for a living, that it was all adult stuff that was like that I don't want to have anything to do with. It was all
Right.
numbers and real life things. Again, like as scary as my wife is, she handles all the books and does all the stuff. No wrestler wants to know about any of that. They just want to know they got paid, and that's about it. But you always you let your trusted person, whoever that is, your wife, your boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever it is, somebody, because wrestlers are just giant kids, jumping around in silly costumes. So yeah. But as far as what I know, it just logistically didn't work out. Like it was just a finance and strategy and logistics and building accommodations and what have you. So, but they're very interested in doing a lot of business in New Orleans. So it just for WrestleMania for whatever exact reasons. And again, when you see something on the news, and it's like, oh, it was a test, it was something like whoever really knows behind the farthest of
Yeah.
curtains, behind the other curtain, behind that last second curtain,
Yep. There's
you know.
there's layers to it.
So who knows behind the layers of curtains, exactly. But I mean, they're going back. It's not like they're not going there. So I would think whatever their dilemma is, it's a temporary uh, problem, and it will be fixed up soon, and in time to do a lot of other shows there.
Yeah.
We'll see. And I mean, Las Vegas is the fight capital of the world. Like how can you go wrong there? And they were also probably saw how successful it was. Like it was very successful. I'm pretty sure they made a few bucks.
Yeah. It was incredible. It seems so smooth too.
Yeah, and there was
Okay.
wrestling stuff all over the city. Like I mean, I've been to quite a few WrestleManias, you know, uh, and those cities just turn into WWE town. Like it's wrestling town. There's signs on the like the flags down the street, the signs in the all over the place. Everything, the restaurants, the clothing stores, everything are running weird specials and different things to sort of you know, be involved in it. And to be fair, whether you're a wrestling fan or not, it brings such a huge revenue to whatever city it's coming from. Besides whatever WWE is making, like I mean, all those restaurants are packed. All those clothing stores are selling pants and shirts and knickers like crazy. You know, all the different, you know, all the stores are reaping the benefits of something that huge being there.
What was your what was your first WrestleMania that you went to as a fan? Or have you ever been as a fan?
Yeah, yeah. I saw I guess the first one that I attended was Hulk Hogan versus Ultimate Warrior when Ultimate Warrior beat Hulk Hogan.
Six. WrestleMania 6, right? Yeah, there've been
Yeah.
6. Hogan Warrior, you were there? Skydome, Toronto.
I don't. We were all of us. I think all the Canadian wrestlers were so. So I'm going to pick a fight right now with whoever Rogers is. Whoever Roger is, you know, I would love to slap Roger for turning the Skydome into the Rogers Center. It's the Skydome,
Oh,
man. It was
it's the Skydome. Always be
historic.
the Skydome.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and for when then turned it into the Rogers Center, we were all like, you know, nobody likes it called the Rogers. It was like it's the Skydome, man. You know, so Rogers, oh, picking a
Bring
fight
the
right
power
here,
slap.
right?
But because you grew up, so with you, Edge,
Eddie Christian, yeah.
Christian,
Christian was
you
the very
guys grew up
first
together,
kid I
right?
ever met in a sandbox in kindergarten. He was the very first kid I ever recall meeting on planet Earth.
And then that's who you guys all went to WrestleMania 6 together?
No, Adam, Edge's mom took him. My dad took it was because it was so huge, right? Like we had
Yeah.
been to a ton of wrestling shows together. Excuse me. And but yeah, my dad took me. Adam's mom took him, and I'm not. I don't recall if Jay, if Christian went. I don't know. Maybe he did. I'm not sure. I'm gonna have to go after this interview. I'm gonna call him. Like, did you go to WrestleMania? You know.
It's so funny because I remember my first pay-per-view that I went to was SummerSlam 1990, and that was Hogan
That's
Earthquake.
awesome.
And it was at the Spectrum in Philadelphia. It was right after Hogan got attacked by Earthquake, and as fans, you had to write letters to Hulk Hogan, and then he came back to fight Earthquake with it was supposed to be Tugboat in his corner, but instead he had Bossman in his corner, which I think was a better decision at the time. Were you always a fan of wrestling, or was there a moment that just hooked you that you were like, okay, I'm in love with this?
So yes and yes. As soon as I saw it, I was hooked. But the couple of guys that really intrigued, you know, again, the hamster spinning on this wheel between my ears that got me asking and wondering, going, what's going on? What is this? Was certainly Jake the Snake Roberts, who is my coach now, my one of my best pals. He actually uh, officiated my wedding with my wife, which is super weird to this day. Super weird. But watching him DDT Ricky Steamboat on the concrete, I remember sitting on the couch at one of my friends' houses. We were kids, and me and Edge and Christian, Adam and Jay, we were just trying to keep our eyes open to watch Saturday night's main event. And we're all dozing off, and all of a sudden, here comes Ricky Steamboat. We're like, oh yeah, it's awesome. So we're all jumping back to life, you know, as tired little kids. And out of the blue, out of nowhere, here comes that sinister, slippery, slimy Jake the Snake slithering around and DDT's poor Ricky Steamboat on the concrete. And I remember Edge and Christian, they were beside themselves. They were damn near crying. They were like, I can't believe that happened. And I was just like, I don't want to be the guy on the concrete. I want to be, you know, the guy with the mullet and the mustache, like and the snake.
Yeah,
Awesome.
yeah.
You know what? A business on the top, party in the back, right?
So I think you and I were kind of grew up in the same era. I was a fan of wrestling in the '80s. Just I just kind of watched it from afar. I know all the characters, and then I'll never forget we got cable TV in February of 1990, and it was a Saturday night. I'm sitting with my dad, and we're just punching through channels, and we stopped, and it was WCW's Saturday night, and they were highlighting when Ric Flair and the Four Horsemen jumped Sting out of the Horsemen because Sting won I think he won a title match against Flair, and he was not going to give up that match. And I saw Flair and the Horsemen jumping Sting, and I'm like, what is this? This is not the wrestling that I'm used to. What is happening right now? And since that moment, 1990, February 1990, been a fan ever since. Hooked on this stuff.
Horseman, baby, right there.
It's crazy. So Jake,
I'll
you
tell you
and
that.
Jay,
I'll tell you that. So you have my head spinning on, and you said earthquake. So earthquake was my roommate in my first UK wrestling tour when I was just super green, was just sort of breaking in. and I wound up as his roommate, which was the most surreal, bizarre thing because I was so used to seeing him on TV yelling at Hulk Hogan or Jake the Snake or somebody, and in real life, I mean, he it was possibly the biggest human I have ever, and I've been in the ring with some big humans from King Kong Bundy
Mhm.
to Viscera, Kali, all these guys. I would say Earthquake is the biggest human I have ever met. Massive, like his thighs were bigger than my whole body, like just a walking U-Haul van, you know.
Was he old? What was his? Because he had like
No,
that
no.
receding hairline, so he looked older when we were
You
kids.
know
But
what?
was he much older than you?
He was barely, I think, 25 when he did all that stuff with Hulk Hogan. You know,
Was
when
he
he was,
really?
all no, I'm not disrespecting anybody that's losing their wig. Yeah, he just looked like he was just, I think he was kind of looked like that between 21, 25 or whatever. So he wasn't that old when I had met him. Like this was in Now this will sound old, so this would have been right around the turn of the century. This would have been, maybe 2000, 2001. And no, he was awesome. He was in good shape. Like you go out there and beat up whoever he had to any given night, and so like they put us up in what we called the digs. So these big, huge, like 3, 4 story sort of like condo kind of things, and we would share. We would bunk up like, everybody had like there was these big rooms, and there was like sort of like little like each floor had like maybe 1 or 2 bathrooms or whatever, and then you had like your various guest rooms, and it was 2 by 2 by 2 by 2, and yeah, that first tour I was bunking with earthquake. So on any given day that we had like a day off or maybe a later show that we didn't get picked up so late, he would say, "Hey, Sin, would you like to go watch a matinee?" Yes, I would. Yes, I would. Earthquake. And would you like
That's
to
so
go get a
endearing.
pastry? Yes, I would. Earthquake. You know, and we were predominantly we would stay just on the other side of the river of Liverpool, and then we would every day to go to these shows. All these wrestlers would pile out of the digs and into some kind of a smaller touring bus, you know. And once in a while we would get stuck with the promoter in her in his or her car. There was a father and daughter promoter, and I
Mhm.
mean, as well as I do, the cars over in England are itty bitty little tiny cars.
Yeah, small, right?
And
Yeah.
all the wrestlers were really, really, really big. I was a smaller wrestler, and I'm 6'1". I was about 245 at the time.
And you're a big guy. Yeah.
I'm about 230, 235 right now. But yeah, I was about the littlest dude on the tour. So stuffing us into the little car once in a while was like putting a bunch of dinos in Fred Flintstone's car,
Yes.
you know. So like Earthquake would literally be hanging out the side, or Jake the Snake would be hanging out the side, or whoever it was, Tatanka or Gangrel or whoever.
Well,
Big
I
Marty
remember when
Jannetty
you
about
did.
the
I
only one
remember.
that wasn't as big as I was. He was thick enough, strong, like in shape, but he wasn't as
Yeah.
big as the other dude. He's the fast guys.
I remember when you debuted. I remember seeing you, Kazarni, debut in the WWE. I thought it was a really cool character. I loved your look. I thought it was just very unique. When you were first presented with that character, what were your thoughts on the Kazarni character when you make it to the WWE and they say, okay, this is going to be your character, or did you come up with that character?
So I chose visually to look like that. I was a big fan. You can see across the wrestling landscape, and especially the independent wrestling landscape before they get brought up to the big league, so to speak. You'll see sort of, no disrespect, just best term I can think of at 8:30 in the morning is, sort of a knockoff version of the Road Warriors, knockoff version of Shawn Michaels, or knockoff version of Big Papa Pump, or so forth, so forth. So I always wanted to be my own thing, whatever that might entail. So I was always Sin in some weird shape or form. So at that time, I chose the long blonde hair with the long sort of Jack Sparrow kind of. My beard was down to my belly button, and the big red fur coat. Now it was very much a sort of a collage of uh, the Freebirds, Michael Hayes with the blonde hair and the black beard, and
Yes.
Rip Rogers, who's kind of the similar style wise, character wise, sort of villain wise. Um, The red fur coat was very D. Schneider, stay hungry, like the blonde hair and the big red coat, the crazy eyes,
Yeah.
and
Oh my gosh. Yes.
all the
Absolutely.
stuff.
Yes.
The Green Goblin with his hands all kind of like gnarled, and riding around on that little bat scooter thing, and so I had all these visual things in my head that I sort of hodgepodged into my own. And but Vince McMahon came up with the name Kazarni. Like after we had our sit down meeting, um, my wife just walked into the room, so I think my dogs are going to bark. So just
That's
warning
totally fine.
everybody, dogs might be barking soon.
We love dogs.
I love dogs too, and I just saw on a different note. I don't want to bring anything on a Debbie Downer, but I saw that Rebel bill was passed. I just saw that this
Yeah.
morning. Awesome,
Yeah.
awesome,
Yeah. It is real good. Yeah. Yeah.
so good. I'll just leave it at this, and we can talk about silly, fun, crazy wrestling again. But like, I would just like to just say on the biggest public of forum right here, any man that would deliberately try to hurt, a woman, a child, or a dog is not a man. They're a coward and a piece of garbage.
100%. And if we could curse, we would curse too. I'm right there with you, man. And here at Channel 8 too, we're such huge supporters of animals and do everything we can for them. So yeah, I'm right there with you, man. If you lay your hand on a dog, woman, child, it's you're not a
I'm
man.
petting my big giant pit mastiff right now. He was trying to like jump in my lap before we got onto this interview, and he's the sweetest boy ever. But he's got those big Wolverine claws. Got a few scars from wrestling
The
and a
big
few
old
scars from
paws.
him just trying to hug me. And so I've
How
tried.
many dogs do you have?
I've got him, and we have a little blind rescue poodle named Rambo.
Uh-huh.
He was, I guess, whoever had owned him was again some kind of piece of garbage that got arrested for God knows what, and he left his dog to starve and dehydrate in an apartment or a house somewhere. And I guess at the last minute, somebody heard him crying or what have you, so they rescued him only to put him in a kill shelter. So I went, got him. Like I not let that little guy, overcome something so horrific only to be put in a kill shelter. And so nobody knew what his name was. So me and my wife just kept on saying, "Hey, Dave. Hey, Evan. Hey, Spot. Hey, Fido." He was kind of no selling everything, and all of a sudden spit out Rambo, and he's just like, "You called? Oh, hey, here I am." And we're like, "Rambo the blind poodle, it is." Got a little one-eyed girl cat. She was a victim of a car wreck or what have you, and she was in
Uh-huh.
the hospital when we were, or in the veterinarian when we were getting Ox, my big pit mastiff, his shots, and my stepdaughter works as a vet tech there, and she brought this little one-eyed little girl cat out, just like, "Oh, look at this, Uncle Sin. Nobody wants
Uh-huh.
her." And I said, "Nobody until now. She's coming with me." And so I advocated to call Ox Mr. Fuji. And my wife and my daughter were not having it. And we tried that with little Rambo, and Rambo wasn't having it. And so my wife was like, "Really? We can get this little cat?" And I said, "Yep, absolutely." And she goes, "Really?" She goes, "What do you want to name it?" And I was just like, "Mr. Fuji." So I have a one-eyed girl cat named Mr. Fuji.
How fitting. That is perfect.
And
You
we've got chickens, ducks, turkeys, goats. I have a mini Texas Longhorn walking around in my backyard too. So
you
I
do?
sure did. He
Where do you
almost got in
live?
my
You don't
wrestling
live in
ring.
you don't
I have a big.
do
So I
you
live on a little ranch house on an acre on the edge of Death Valley, and
okay.
about an hour and a half out of Vegas. And so we're right kind of backed up to the mountains. So I have an acre with a giant 20-foot wrestling ring surrounded by mountains and goat paddocks, deer paddocks, turkey runs. We just got two little mini little potbelly pigs too. I've got a tortoise that's about the size of a lawnmower. Uh, he's Switzerland. He gets along with all the dogs and all the cat and everything. So my house is a menagerie of ridiculousness. Like so,
I love that. You so
I'd
our
probably
history, I
save a few
remember
bucks if I didn't have a $5 million food bill for all these years.
exactly. Exactly. Yeah, the vet bills and everything else. I think it was 2018 that I did a segment at Jake the Snake's wrestling pit, the wrestling school that he had here in Las Vegas, and that's where you and I met. And he showed me a couple of things in the ring, which was awesome. And then just recently, this past year, there was an event called Tacos and Tamales. It was the event here in Las Vegas, and I was covering that. And Lucha Libre wrestling was taking place, and you were there, and you were kind enough to show me a couple of moves in the ring, and I got to do it on live television,
You
like
sure
three or
did. My
four
chest
moves,
is
and
still stinging. You got a real
oh my
hard hand
gosh,
on you. Maybe we need to sign you up for power slap.
that was such a moment for me to be in a wrestling ring. I'm in the ring with you. I'm doing moves. I'm on live television. It was just I will never forget that day as long as I live. It was very special to
That's
me.
awesome. Thanks.
Who was that for you? Was it Jake? Who was that person for you that kind of took you under your wing? Not comparing my career to your career, but who took you under your wing and kind of showed you the ropes and showed you the ins and outs of the business?
So the long the long story short would be Jake the Snake Roberts. He, again, when I was a kid and I saw him DDT Ricky Steamboat on the concrete, he just made my brain ask so many questions. My child's mind watching this, perceiving all of this, just I was so curious. Like the Road Warriors were scary, the Wild Samoans were scary. The different guys sort of facilitated different ideas. But Jake was the one that I just wondered, like, where does he go after the show? Where does he dwell? He's like Skeletor from He-Man. Does he have the weird snaky castle? Like, what does he have? What is Stone Mountain?
Where does he dwell? That's great.
Like my brain was just asking so many questions. And so years later, I got my basics training with Ron Hutchinson, who trained Edge and Christian, Beth Phoenix, Johnny Swinger, Gail Kim, Trish Stratus. I trained actually with Trish Stratus. Like, so me and her, we trained together. We were in the same
Okay.
platoon together. I was the second smallest person out of everybody that signed up. And again, I'm 6'1", 245. And the only person smaller than me was Trish. And she was scarier than all of us. Yeah, she's awesome. And so I got my basics from Ron. I started traveling. I wound up at OVW, which was at the time a feeder system for WWE. I trained under Al Snow, Rip Rogers, and Robert Gibson of the Rock and Roll Express. Then when I got hired by WWE from OVW, they sent me to FCW, Florida Championship Wrestling, where I got to train with Dr. Tom, Dusty Rhodes, Norman Smiley, Steve Kern, Ricky Steamboat. So I mean, my teachers, like my resume of teachers is pretty darn awesome. So
Yeah.
now that since I do seminars and I sort of player coach as I go, I'm in that weird unicorn age where the young guys and girls now, they can study tape and they can see it and think whatever, they can hear it and perceive, they can't touch it. So to get in the ring with me, whether it's in a match or a seminar, you're getting that sort of conduit from the 80s when all those guys were just brilliant. And now to these young guys and girls that are so athletic and so hungry, but now they can sort of feel what that touch feels like and the illusion of what we do. Sometimes if it looks really difficult, it might be easy. If it looks really easy, it might be difficult. You don't know. If it looks like it doesn't hurt, probably really hurts. If it looks like it really, really hurts, it probably really, really, really hurts. So to know the ins and outs of what we do, and it's no secret that it's sports entertainment, but it still hurts. So if you're smart with your craft, you might sustain longevity and a wonderful career. Like, I mean, doing this, wrestling owes me nothing. I owe it everything. Gangrel would always say that, and I thought that was a great quote. Like, wrestling has let me see the world, meet cool people, interesting people, see things, do things that I wouldn't have done if I was just maybe stuck, you know, in a factory or in a retail job or something. No disrespect to
Yeah.
that. I have ultimate respect for the working average bear, for just the hardworking human, because those are the people that are buying the wrestling tickets for us to have the pleasure of performing.
Mm-hmm.
It's smiles
Mm-hmm.
on faces. That's my job. Smiles on faces is the whole wrestling mandate. Like, make them cheer, make them boo. Root for the good guy, hate the bad guy, wait for the bad guy to get his upcomings. And all that stuff. Eye for an eye, just desserts, and all that stuff. Send the kids home happy. All that stuff is just such a cool thing. But short story long, the answer is Jake was the one that sort of was or maybe the Merlin to my King Arthur's adventure. He was always that kind of insightful, wizard, always kind of standing there. I joke and I call him my fairy god brother.
His I remember that day where I was over at his academy and I had to film like the opening segment and I wanted to walk out of the entranceway and I had the Intercontinental Championship belt and my camera guy was filming there and I had something I was going to say like today I try to win this whatever it was and I did it and Jake was watching and he walks over and he's like, "Do you mind?" I'm like, "No." And like he coached me. This again, this is all of like 5 minutes, but he coached me on how to do this certain promo and how to hold the belt a certain way and how to look at the camera and how to pause for a second. And he's like, teaching me this. And he's like, when you say, "I am here," pause for a second, whatever it was. And in my mind, I'm like going, holy, like the little JC is losing his mind right now because Jake the Snake Roberts is teaching me how to do a promo for television. It's mind blowing.
Well, and whether you're jumping around in sparkly undies, suplexing people, or whether you're behind the microphone, you know, doing the news, anything that comes out of his face is psychological genius. Like he is,
Mm-hmm.
whether wrestling be damned, acting, newscast, and his public speaking, like he's got so many little clever insights, as we will call them, devil in the details,
Yes.
just so many neat little nuances and tricks and so forth. And I soak that up like a sponge. Like I'm literally a two-legged portable hard drive of a lot of Jakeisms and so forth. So if you're wrestling me or taking a seminar from me, like you're getting, of course, my own original thoughts and experiences, of course, coupled and comboed with Jake and Dusty and Steamboat and Dr. Tom and Rip Rogers and Ron Hutchinson and so forth, the Steve Kern and all these guys. So like, and plus all the guys that I actually like that I wrestled, like I wrestled all those dudes from the 80s, from the Steiner brothers to the Road Warriors to King Kong Bundy and Kamala, and just you name it. I've been in the ring with those guys. So you can't help but kind of steal these little dirty tricks from all these different guys. You
Yes.
kind of smush it and golden corral it into your own buffet of weaponry.
Well, I remember for you and I'm talking like this some legendary match that you and I had, but it was exciting for me, and it was all
Star.
of 90
It was
seconds. But
five-star,
it
bro.
was I remember
5 star.
it was 5 star. It was 5 star. But I
Quality,
remember
not
you're like
quantity.
we're talking about how I was hitting you in the chest, and you're like you like lay into me, and I'm like I will. And you're like no, you have to go all in because if you don't go all in, it's not we want this to have a certain presence. And there we were on live TV, and I went all in on you, and you were just an angel in the ring, man.
Go on. So in a wrestling seminar or in the school, especially in the schools when I have like these guys and girls on the regular. So I try to,
Yeah.
I try to cliff note a bunch of information in the seminar. So if I bombard you with a bunch of things, you can sort of hopefully pull a few things that are useful to you and so forth.
Were you any of your matches looking back in your career? You're halfway through a match. Have you ever like just completely lost your way in a match, or lost your train of thought, or just kind of forgot where you were going things? And if so, how did you ever regain your? Hey, I'm losing my train of thought here. Regain your train of thought, or regain like where we're supposed to take a match.
So this question will start out with a very odd answer. So, 100 years ago or so, whenever it was, when I had my first tryout match, you can find online. I hadn't seen it in just about whatever it is, 20, 25 years, whatever. I'm like Zsa Zsa Gabor. I don't want to talk about my age or whatever. It's about 100,
I'm the
100 years
same way.
ago or so. And, and Edge got me a tryout match with WWE. But I was so new. I was so green to know how ill prepared I was. Like I was an athlete, and I was learning, and I was okay for only. I want to say I had under 50 matches. I think maybe I was about 30 matches, which is nothing. Like I had 30 matches last week. Like it's
Right.
nothing. You know, and so I was just too green to know how underwater I would be if anything was to arise that wasn't a perfect situation. And I think I was going to wrestle Christian, who would have kind of walked me through it, and everything was fine. But that night, Sylvain Grenier was also trying out, so Pat Patterson put Christian with Sylvain Grenier, and then I got my buddy, who was this big, huge big Papa Pump looking kind of a guy. Um, really nice, sweet guy. Give you the shirt off his back. Was jacked, looked awesome. But he was as green, if not greener, than I was. And so we kind of talked about a few things and this and that. We went out there, and I went out there kind of first as the bad guy. And I looked at that crowd, and I was just like, "This is awesome!" Like I was nervous, but in a good way. And he walked out there, and I think he was nervous in a holy crap, I'm going to freeze up kind of way. And
Yeah.
so we had about the most atrocious wrestling match in front of how many thousands of people in Montreal. It was awful. Like it was the runny, corny, drizzling poops. It was awful. And I hadn't seen it in years, and it just popped up on the internet, and I have all my buddies like, bro, what was that? Bro, like you're so smart, you're so whatever, you do all this. What the heck was, I'm like, it was 100 years ago. Leave me alone. I was just
Yeah.
getting started. But the important thing that I took from that match was literally like, as I like, I'm trying to talk to him in the ring, like everything was just closing down, and he could hear me, but he was so like wrestling or otherwise. Like if people get so nervous, they almost get deaf. Like you could tell them something and they're just kind of freezing. And again,
Mhm.
in a locker room and in restaurants where in the gym is the sweetest, funniest dude ever, but he froze and he was 280 pounds, like ripped. So try moving that around when somebody like that doesn't want to move. He's like, and so it was just a big steaming pile of, you know, what my little Texas Longhorn likes to spit out every once in a while.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And so I made it my mission to learn everything in and out about pro wrestling. And I don't know by any means everything about pro wrestling, but I know a lot. And I could wrestle a
Mhm.
guy like that in my sleep right now. Like I just was hell bent on that was like my kick in the pants to go, if you want to do this, you're going to learn it. You're not phoning anything in. You are going to learn everything. So when I excuse me, so talking to you or talking to some of the wrestling students in there, I'm like, you better hit me the right way because if you want to be in my business, you're going to do it right. Yeah, of
Yeah.
course I wanted you. I didn't want you to, and I know you were being just so polite, so you just wanted just to touch me because I am a delicate flower and
You are.
I'm a diva, and I didn't want to get hit. Like, no, like I want, you know, bring your A game. And you were like, okay. And you had that testicular fortitude. We're like, all right, I'm surrounded by ropes and turnbuckles. Got this big, really, really, really good looking wrestler in front of me. I'm gonna
That's
clobber
right. You
him.
are.
I'm gonna clobber
And you had
him, and
two other
that's
guys with
that.
you. Took out all three of you.
And you did. And it was awesome.
Sin, buddy, I can't thank you enough for doing this show with me. It's nice to chat long form with you. Just I had pages of notes, and I think I got the here. So we got to do this again. I just got the here. We got to cover all 2 pages of my stuff. So you have to come back on again soon, my friend.
Anytime, anytime. Maybe we can talk about the results of this upcoming Power Slap, June 27th here in Vegas. There's my little plug.
But let's get you. I tell you what, let's get you in studio for Las Vegas now to talk about it, and then maybe I can give you a.
Yeah, yeah. I could tell. I'm due for another swat in the mud. Yeah, yeah. So they won't. I'm 51, so they won't let me do it at Power Slap. Although they were just asking me that the other day. They're like, "Would you?" I'm like, "I certainly would."
Yes, you would. Yes, you would.
So yeah, if
All
we, if
right,
we can't
Sin.
do it there, we'll do it. We'll do it in studio with you.
Dude, absolutely. I love it. Thank you so much, my friend. I appreciate everything you've done for me. Thank you, my friend.
Thank you. Have a great day.
I'll see you, buddy. Thank you, everyone, for watching. We appreciate it.